Welcome, I'm Lisa Bagshaw, and this is Bold Leaps, the show that interviews creative, inspiring, successful people about the risks they've taken to pursue their dreams. And today's guest is Pastry and Chocolatier Thomas Haas. Thomas had been working in his family's multi-generational bakery since he was 10 years old in the Black Forest region of Germany. At the young age of 16, he was sent off to apprentice to follow in his paternal lineage of being a Master Pastry Chef. Although arduous, this upbringing trained him for a life of working in Michelin star restaurants all over the world, and ultimately landing him at 25 years old at internationally renowned restaurant Daniel in New York City, where he himself became famous, making regular appearances on Martha Stewart's Living and other international TV shows. And then he decided to leave this fast-paced, high adrenaline, exciting life to move to Vancouver without a plan. What I wanted to know was what happens when you leave the path you are destined for and start over. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for having us, actually.
That's actually right.
In your beautiful Chocolatier, patisserie.
Yes, people say bakery, but
Bakery.
I say no. It's a patisserie, and it's a little bit different. Yeah, when they come in and say like, "Oh, you have a nice coffee shop," I'm like, "No, it's not a coffee shop." Even though we sell coffee.
Yes, and all due respect, because you are a master craftsman. So take us back. I'm so excited about this story. I can't wait to get into it. Take us back. You're working in New York City. You're at one of the top restaurants in the world. You're the executive pastry chef. You're on Martha Stewart's show. You're schmoozing with celebrities. You yourself are famous. You're winning competitions. Share with us how you came to the decision to leave all of that and go to Vancouver without a plan.
That is right. Well, it was exactly as you said. It was exciting, and there was lots of energy, and I felt I was at the height of my career. But I also had two little babies. Our daughter was born in New York, and I was very self-aware of in what direction my life is going to go. So I loved it to get up at 6 in the morning and be at work at 7 and come back home at midnight and sleep another 5 hours and never was tired. And I looked at myself and I'm like, I don't know if that is good for everybody else around me. And after 2.5 years, I think there was one moment, which was on a Sunday morning, I would get up, and Sunday was the day off, and I would hold my little newborn daughter, who actually now works with me, with us, with Lisa and our son. And I was holding her, and she was like 1 year old, and she wouldn't recognize me. So she would be like afraid for a moment, and that was the thing which really made me thought of, who do I want to be when I'm old, like now? Do I want to be the most well-known chef in the city, and that's all I have ever been good at, or do I want to be known for, doing my responsibilities as a good father, husband, probably as a community member, probably a little bit good to myself too, instead of just following my passion of work, and that was enough for me to say, like, you know what, I just can't see myself, and I don't think I would be happy and fulfilled.
So the root of your decision was to come, actually back to Vancouver, because you had been here previously, and focus more on your family life and community?
I wanted to have a balance, and it doesn't mean that I actually worked less, but I felt the energy I had was way better. I could divert it to all the things which really mattered to me, and that was family, and that was Lisa, my wife, and there was friends, and a little bit myself as well. And of course, work was always what was driving it, because there was a family to support, there was an inner desire of doing well, And I just hadn't had a plan, but I knew that one will come up if I work hard enough on it. And if I put myself under enough pressure, I will, as they say, you throw them into ice cold water and they will learn to swim.
I mean, it must have been a very intoxicating life for you working at this restaurant, as you say, sort of the pinnacle of your career. And then this pull of family and fulfillment. Was it a difficult decision? Did it take a long time to make that decision?
The decision wasn't difficult. The moment to speak to Danielle, that was hard, but I chose a really good night, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and he wanted to do another 5-year visa, and I said, like, you know what, I'd be here as long as you want me, after my visa. But I don't think I would be able to commit to that, and he would be inquisitive, and I said, why? You have the potential to be the next James Beard Award winner and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, but I just don't think this matters as much as, my life has always been, I'm a jack of all trades. And I felt like that should also reflect into my life, that I just want to be good in all my other duties as a person or as a human in this world. And so I thought, that might end really bad, but I got an incredible support. It was not easy for him probably either, but he was incredibly supportive. Even paid for my move back 6 months later, called me from France and said, like, you can still change your mind. And so it couldn't have been a better departure.
So that is something, that moment where you sat down with him and you told him that you were leaving. Was he shocked that you would leave this incredible opportunity and go to Vancouver without a plan?
Yeah, because if you are new, I mean, he's French, but he's kind of a New Yorker, and I can see, I just visited him in April and we had the most amazing time. We spent so much time together. It was like, it warmed up my heart. And but I look at him, he's like in his late 60s now, and he has the drive of a 30-year-old. And it's the city who does that. And for somebody to relate that I'm going to this little town somewhere on the West Coast was kind of like, why would you give away this, So, it was probably a little bit of a shock to him.
But this is the decision that was the right thing for you to do in your heart.
100%.
And you knew that?
I knew that, yeah.
Wow. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Thomas what life was like immediately following this massive leap. Welcome back. Okay, Thomas, so you've made this decision, and it feels like the right thing in your heart to leave what anybody else would look at as the pinnacle of your career, fame, fortune, winning contests, everything, and coming back, also being in line with your destiny, being a 4th generation in this line of work, and to sort of go off course and come back to Vancouver without a plan. Well, you did have a consulting job, but walk us through what it was like to come back to Vancouver and start recreating your life.
It was an interesting one. Mm-hmm. So I knew by heart, as you said, that that was the right decision. But of course, you have no place to live. So lucky we stayed at Lisa's brother's 1-bedroom apartment in the West End for about 4 weeks with 2 little kids. And that already is a story on its own, which was amazing. And then I did, people heard that I would come back to Vancouver. And so I did get a job offer, but I did not want to work in a kind of a corporation. So we negotiated that I would do consulting for the hotel, and they wanted to open a boutique pastry shop. And I'm like, sure, I would take that on as well. And so I did. I did have work right away, which was good. And that led into the chocolate business, which I started in the basement of our little house. It was a little crazy kitchen I built there.
Yeah, so this is where I have to just stop the show, because you, from what I understand, you had the consulting job. You would ride your bicycle from downtown over the Lionsgate Bridge, come home.
Yep, have a quick dinner, and then go into the little crazy person's basement, which I tiled. It was white floor, white walls, and then we had custom made. I got some stainless steel tables done. It was like all polished and beautiful, and I started the chocolate business there. Yeah, only for like 6 weeks or 7 weeks, I think.
And how did it go, making chocolates in the middle of the night?
There was so much energy because I was after something. I just wanted to build and create something, and so nothing would make me tired than the boutique pastry shop. What the hotel opened, it was called Five Senses, and I was the person behind it, but they did not have that product, the chocolate product. So I had an account there, but it was a small account, but I can't do all that small recipes. So another chef talked about it and said like, oh, we would like to have them for the hotel. And so then there was one hotel, then it becomes 2 hotels. It was all word of mouth. And then a friend of mine who had a catering kitchen just 5 kilometers away from home said like, why you don't come here and you have your own walk-in fridge and a little catering kitchen. And then I started there, and then it became a full-on night job with 2 girls I used to work with. They joined me, and we had the best of times.
That is unbelievable. And then what happened?
So we would go, and at the same time, the 2 people I worked with at the hotel, they got laid off, and they were shattered because a contract didn't come through from the hotel. And I said, oh, don't worry. I think I'm up to something. Do you mind to work evenings or nights? And they would be like, no, okay, so then how about we make chocolates together? So I would be home at 6, I would have a quick dinner, drive down to my little catering kitchen, meet Lisa there and Whitney, that was the 2 girls. And we would start making ganaches and truffles and chocolates, and we would listen to radio talk shows. It was the best of fun. I think we knew each other better than we knew our partners at that time, because 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I would say, I gotta go back to work at 6. And yeah, there was no, if I remember back, there was no energy issue. It was all motivation.
Mm. And so you recognize that there wasn't your quality of craftsmanship in making chocolates in the city. Is that correct?
I for sure, in hindsight, would think there was a great opportunity. I didn't start it because of an opportunity. I started out of necessity. I'm like, I got to do something, and this is all I know. So I see if there is a market who enjoys it, and it was incredible. It was one chef, like the Four Seasons chef in Vancouver, would call the chef in Chicago and say like, hey, if you guys need something special, here I know somebody. And then we got a call. We never did one sales call. And within 2 years, we would be making 20,000 chocolates in
20,000
a week. And I would have trays designed where I can put them in, and they're perimeter sealed, and I could throw it on the wall, open it up, they have no scuffing, no scratches. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to ship this. And it would go to the island of Nevis. We did the White House for 12 years. We would do, all boutique hotels around North America. Yeah, it was like
it just
exhilarating.
Took off.
Yeah.
And then what about the retail locations?
So our own, we started in 2004 when our space was becoming too small. And the friend I worked out of, he was also German, and he was the master motivator. Like, he would give me, sometimes you do have doubts, and he would say like, don't have doubts, just go for it. You can do it, you know? And so we looked for a location, and this is the location where I'm in. There was only dirt, there was nothing, and I'm like, okay, I gotta see if I can purchase this with the little bit I have, and next to nothing. The bank owned your socks, but I was like, okay, if that is what it is, I can do it, you know. And so we got this piece of land, and we built the walls up, and I designed it at night, and I put little models on and looked if 2 bumps can go by on that space, and It was a lot of fun. I think building a business in hindsight again is so invigorating. I think it's actually harder to maintain it on a high level day in, day out. But building it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, now, because we're in your North Van location, which is a very innocuous place. It's in North Vancouver. It's by the Auto Mall, but it's
in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. So, and you have no retail experience.
Yeah.
Did you feel scared? Uncertain?
We would, at the beginning, the store, it's tiny, but it was supposed to be even more tiny. And we just put 2 wooden tables in, and I put a little bell. And people asked me last week and said, what's the button for? And I'm like, oh, that would call me from the back to come to the front. It didn't last for a week. And people seek you out. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I need help. And we would call friends up. Can you help us? Can you help us? And all of a sudden we were from 4 people, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Now we are like 30 in here. It's tight, but it's still a lot of fun.
Well, so in that process of really changing your whole destiny, completely reinventing yourself, recreating yourself, when did you know that you would be okay?
I think it was the day when my parents closed their business after 40 years, and we opened here, and it was in the same week. It gives me goosebumps right now. And they had a closing party, and I had the opening party, and I'm like, okay, there's no way back. I gotta be okay. I wasn't sure if I am, but I thought I gotta be okay.
And you were. Clearly,
yes,
you
yes.
have been.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lineup of 800 people most days.
Every day I get up and I'm still afraid. I'm like, oh, is anybody showing up today? It's true.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take another break, but stay with us because we are going to talk about what life is like now for Thomas when COVID threatened to shut his business down and he had to start over again when we come back. Welcome back. So, your business survived COVID, but you had to start again.
Yep, pretty much.
Can you tell
I think
us?
for a lot of businesses in our industry, it was a little bit like that. So we went from, it came and I was like very not nervous. And I'm like, this looks like this, doesn't. But all of a sudden there was no customers anymore. And I'm like, everybody stay calm, it's okay. We will just keep plugging away. The team was always there and working really, really hard within the team when it's busy, so I'm gonna be here for you when it's not busy. And then there was literally, like for 10 days, there was nobody. And after 1 week, then I think we got a little bit that message, or people got, stay home and do your part. I think that's supposed to be from socializing, not from work. But people decided to stay home from work, and nothing I would say in either way, so we supported that in a way, actually. Do what you think you need to do. And so we went from 19 people in the kitchen to 3 plus me. But there was this turnaround after 2 weeks of people wanted to have some normalcy and adapted to all their restrictions, and then it got busier, and but we had no staff, and so we had to totally reinvent ourselves and start from scratch. And there is no recipe right now in this building which has not been revamped to the max of efficiency. So we would be like, okay, let's take, you're having 3 bowls for this, you have, nope, there's 2 steps too many because we can't afford it right now. And we put a lot of effort, or I put a lot of effort into that, and I don't miss a second of it. It was a great experience.
That must have taught you a lot about resilience.
Yep. Yeah,
again.
It is like, oh yeah, I can do this, So I wasn't afraid. I was like, but that has always been a part. So I was, have I failed in my life? No, I just had challenges. And that's how I always looked at it. And that's not just something I would be reading somewhere. I really truly feel about that. I'm like, no, that's not a failure. That's just another challenge we have to overcome, and we do it to the best of our abilities, and some way we will get rewarded. And then this whole thing turned into this offset kind of energy as the year went on, because restaurants were not allowed to open, but people wanted to have their lives back, and so we stayed open and had lines like out the door, and had to compensate for all the restaurants not being open, but birthday parties did happen at home, even in a smaller circle, or sometimes the big, I have no idea. But so it was a really interesting couple of years, yeah. And we made it through, and we made it through with a great learning experience.
And it seems like you, in the end, absolutely thrived. And I wanted to ask you, in your vast experience, what advice would you have for people who are too afraid to pursue their dreams?
That's a tough question to answer in 2 minutes. But one thing I think is very important, nobody talks about, is first spend considerable time on learning about yourself. Learn about yourself, be hard on you, look inside you, even write it down. Do I thrive on this? Am I afraid of this? Do I get anxiety if I do this? Do I get energy if I do this? And just have this all written down, have it written down on cards, and get a picture of who you are. And then align your dreams with that. People sometimes come to me and say like, oh, I want to do exactly what you did. And I'm like, oh, but you're not me. So you might not thrive on the hats I was wearing and the challenges I had and the obstacles I had to overcome. So you might be miserable, you know. But if you have learned about yourself that this is who you are and this aligns with your dreams and the challenges, the information you could gather through that, then I think you're on the right path. So that would be my 5 cents.
That is excellent advice. I'm going to take that advice to heart. And I am going to thank you so much for your time today. It's been so inspiring. Can I have some of this hot chocolate?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
So now I have to say thank you for having you.
Yes, exactly.
Instead of having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
Cheers.
And that's it for another episode of Bold Leaps. Special thanks to our sponsors. Join us next time for another inspiring story on Bold Leaps. Check us out on YouTube and other social media. Tell us your bold leaps in the comments. And remember, every step you take is a step toward your dreams. This is delicious.